A teacher from Connecticut is accused of having sex with an 11-year-old boy and giving him a bracelet that said, "Best friends forever for life with benefits." Now she's in more trouble. I'll tell you why the feds have now charged Alyson Cranick. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Alyson Cranick was a teacher at Horace Porter School in Columbia, Connecticut until last year. Last September, Connecticut State Police said a 12-year-old boy told a relative that he had been involved in a sexual relationship with Cranick in 2022. Prosecutors in Connecticut charged Cranick with a handful of sex crimes related to minors. Now, federal prosecutors have charged Cranick with one count of enticement of a minor to engage in sexual activity. According to a criminal complaint, minor victims stated to her that Cranick had raped him and then explained that over the summer of 2022, he would sneak out of the house to meet with Cranick. Cranick would communicate with minor victim on Discord and coordinate with him nights that they should meet. Discord is an internet messaging service. At the time, that boy was only 11 years old. He later turned 12. The boy told investigators that initially he and Cranick communicated via iMessage and Snapchat. The complaint continues. During the summer of 2022, minor victim would sneak out of his house about once or twice a week around 1 or 2 a.m. to meet up with Cranick. This often caused him to be tired during the day, so Cranick would buy him caffeinated drinks, such as Mountain Dew and Monster energy drinks. The complaint says sometimes Cranick would drive the boy to Horace Porter School, where Cranick was a teacher and the boy was a student, and they would have sex in the backseat of her car. On one occasion, the boy told investigators, Cranick was on top of the minor victim while he sat in the back seat and she had sexual intercourse with him. Minor victim disclosed that he never wore a condom while having sex with Cranick, and she told him that she was on this Plan B stuff. Federal investigators write about other things they say back up this boy's story. For instance, one of the boy's neighbors posted a photo of Cranick's car on Facebook because it appeared suspicious. It was parked on the street so often in the middle of the night. Then there was another incident involving Cranick and the boy. Investigators write, minor victim was at Columbia Lake during the day with Cranick. While minor victim was fishing, Cranick had her hand on his inner thigh and asked him to put his hand on her thigh. The lifeguards observed this and reported it to the police, who later spoke to minor victim's father. Minor victim's father spoke to Cranick about the incident, and she explained that the lifeguards were overreacting because they hated her. The boy told investigators that he and Cranick had initially communicated via iMessage and Snapchat, but then started using Discord because his mom and other adults could see those messages on his phone. The feds say they found 4,700 messages between the two of them on Discord. One was on July 21st of 2022. The complaint says, Cranick told minor victim she wanted to make him a beaded bracelet with the acronym BFFWB, which means best friends forever with benefits. However, Cranick told the victim she could not put that acronym on a bracelet because of what it meant. She then said, I will figure out how to do the bracelet thing, but add something so only we know. Cranick suggested using BFFFLWB, which means best friends forever for life with benefits, and minor victim said he liked it. Agents say Cranick then sent the boy a photo of the bracelet on Discord. The agents wrote, Cranick then coached minor victim on how to respond when asked about the meaning of the bracelet, telling him to tell people it means best friends for life, we're better, and to make sure he does not tell anyone that the bracelet is about her. There are many messages between Cranick and the boy. They're almost the type of messages you would see between two school-aged kids, but some are also very manipulative, where Cranick says she will cry if the boy does not meet up with her. Police wrote in an arrest warrant that Cranick downplayed any messages she exchanged with the student, and she said she was comforting him because he was having trouble at home. While Cranick faces state charges for alleged crimes involving that student, she now faces that federal enticement charge. The world can be a really scary place, and you don't always know who's a friend or a foe, especially when you're talking to people online. Truthfinder.com is a website that can help you with that. I have a family, so I use Truthfinder for unlimited searches on people we meet, especially my son. I've covered way too many stories about sex offenders and other criminals to know that you cannot be too careful. And Truthfinder will actually show you the sex offenders who live near you, which is really helpful. I also use Truthfinder at work. It's great for that. I even have run background checks on myself, my family, and neighbors just to see what's out there. The information that's available is actually kind of shocking. So right now, you can get 50% off of confidential background reports. Just log on to www.truthfinder.com/LCCrimeFix. Log on and start accessing information about almost anyone. Let's bring in Sarena Townsend. She's a former sex crimes prosecutor. Sarena, what makes this a federal case? Because Alyson Cranick was already facing state charges for these horrible allegations involving this poor kid. Now she faces a federal charge.
That's right. And so it might sound strange. It might feel like double jeopardy, but it's actually not. The state case charges have to do with the actual acts of sexual abuse, whereas the federal case is enticing a minor. And that has obviously what to do with the acts itself. But the situation is, if you are charged with a state crime for sex abuse, you can still be charged federally for enticing a minor, because the charge basically says that if you use any mail or internet or any means of interstate commerce to entice or coerce a minor into engaging in illegal sexual acts, you can be charged federally. And so because this teacher had used her cell phone, that is considered a tool of interstate commerce. For those people who don't know that, your cell phone can be considered that tool to facilitate criminal allegations and facilitate criminal activity. And so if you use your cell phone to entice a minor to engage in sexual acts, you can be charged criminally on the federal level, even though you're already charged on the state level for the actual acts themselves.
So this is 18 U.S. Code 2422, coercion and enticement. And you're right, that's exactly what it says. Whoever using the mail or any facility or means of interstate or foreign commerce or within the special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States knowingly persuades, induces, entices, or coerces any individual who has not attained the age of 18 years to engage in prostitution or any sexual activity for which any person can be charged with a criminal offense or attempts to do so shall be fined under this title and imprisoned not less than 10 years for life. So it's just the mere act of trying to get this kid, allegedly, she hasn't been proven guilty at this point. She's innocent until proven guilty, but it's the act of her trying to get him to sneak out of the house. It's not even the sexual act. It's her trying to get him to engage in these things over the internet.
That's right. Yes. And so the fact that they have those text messages will provide the proof that they need in order to sustain this charge. The texts themselves are the evidence.
So what makes a federal prosecutor or, an agency investigating this type of crime, what makes them say, you know what, we're going to pursue this? Because we have covered a ton of these cases on Crime Fix, and these cases always seem to start with the teacher possibly reaching out to the student on the internet, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, one of those services. Those are all internet-based services. And this is a lot of the time the communication starts that way, even on the phone. So why this case and why not all of the others? Because if you really wanted to send a message that we're taking a stand and we're not going to put up with this stuff anymore, wouldn't you be doing that with all of the cases?
That's such a really good point. And it just goes to show you how our judicial system works. Essentially, you're right. There's every opportunity for almost all of these cases to be prosecuted federally. There's constantly evidence via cell phone, text messages, pictures, videos, sometimes as well, that exist. And so it really has to do with discretion, to be honest with you. Is there an appetite for prosecution on the federal level by the feds? Sometimes that just means, do they have enough evidence? Do they have a lot of evidence? Do they have a cooperative complainant who's willing to testify in multiple different arenas? And so, really, there are opportunities to prosecute many different people for this very same crime. But again, the feds don't like to go forward on a case unless and until they have as much evidence as they know that they need to get proof beyond a reasonable doubt and get a win. They are very different from state prosecutors. In the state, typically they'll prosecute a case, and even if they feel like they think they have proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but they're not positive that they're going to win at trial, they'll still prosecute the case. But the feds are just very, very picky, and typically they will not take a case unless they absolutely know that they can win it.
The allegations in this case, I mean, all of these cases, the allegations are really, really disturbing. I mean, these are kids, and teachers are entrusted to care for children. I mean, I have a son. I think about my son going to school, and when I send my son to school, I expect him to be taught reading, writing, arithmetic, you name it. I expect him to be in a safe environment. And I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why these people are ending up in these positions of power. And in this case, the kid's like, I'm tired, according to his forensic interview documented in the criminal complaint. I'm tired. So because he's tired, she goes out and buys him energy drinks instead of maybe like taking a step back, according to the complaint, and saying, you know what, maybe this is wrong. Maybe you should be in bed at night, at your house with your family because you're 11 years old. But her solution was to buy him energy drinks.
This is one of the worst cases that I have seen, to be honest. We do see, unfortunately, more and more of these cases popping up, even, particularly with the female teachers and male students. But a lot of times, and I'm not saying that this is still right, it's still illegal. A lot of times you do see that the teenagers are, 15, 16, 17 years old. Again, it's still a crime. It's still not good. And it's still really immoral, especially as a teacher. That being said, this is really a child. This is not, we say minor, we say underage, we say teenager, but this is an 11-year-old child. This is a very, very young person. So this kind of case, and then, yes, again, like you're saying, this child was saying, I'm tired. I mean, it's really, really sad, the kind of text messages, the content that you see. It's not flirtatious really on any level. It's like she really manipulated this poor child into doing all of the things that he had to do with her, despite the fact that he seemed to be the more mature one in that conversation, trying to, back off, trying to find any sort of excuse to stop this from happening. I'm tired, my foot hurts because he had sustained an injury playing soccer. He was really trying, and it just shows you how aggressive and manipulative this woman has been to him. And it's really frightening to see.
You're a former sex crimes prosecutor, so you've dealt with cases like this many times.
Yes.
Where do people, I mean, we've heard all of the theories over the years. I mean, that people were abused themselves as children. But, when it comes to women, I think people think, a woman should have some maternal instincts, especially somebody who's a mother. So how are women, where is this coming from? I mean, what do you think is going on?
You know what? We have to look at women the same as men. And if they're a criminal, they're a criminal. You're right. They should have a motherly instinct, but a father should also have a fatherly instinct. And unfortunately, this is just some sort of mental breakdown or something wrong with this person. This is, if obviously proven to be true, this is something that nobody could understand unless you have the same problem, honestly. I don't know. You're right. I've prosecuted a lot of cases. I've prosecuted teachers. I don't know where it comes from. It's bad enough when you have a teacher who begins some illicit and illegal activity with a teenager or, somebody close to adulthood. But this is really horrific. This is like levels of child abuse that is just not explainable, to be honest. We do see it, but I can't explain what's going on in her mind and why she would ever do something like this.
Do you see the feds maybe taking on more of these cases in other jurisdictions?
I hope they do. I really hope they do. It's hard because you don't want to re-traumatize people either. And this poor child is going to have to participate in multiple prosecutions now. You do hear a lot. I used to hear a lot as a prosecutor when survivors of sexual abuse would come to my office. A lot of times they were very reluctant to proceed. It's not easy to re-traumatize yourself, to talk about this stuff over and over and over again. And, you know, a prosecutor is very clinical when they ask these questions. And sometimes it feels very difficult just being in that office, let alone being in a courtroom and facing the person who abused you and having to point them out and say, this is the person who did it. And then have your credibility checked on cross-examination. It's really difficult. And so I do hope the feds take on more of these cases, but I hope that they do it sensitively, because it's very difficult for the survivors to have to go through this multiple times. Even just one time is hard enough.
No doubt. Thank you, Sarena Townsend. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.